Our first guest today, Madison Republican Bob Stefanowski. You've collected 12,000 signatures. You need to get, what, 9,000 or so certified signatures?
9,000 to get in. We've done 12,000, and we're still pushing, still moving forward.
But now these signatures all have to be certified or verified, whatever the term is, by the registrars, right? And then the Secretary of the State.
It's a very intense process. I think, in all honesty, I think the political insiders kind of set it up so that you wouldn't get it done, because I don't think they wanted more people on the ballot. But we've done it. We've got over 100 people across the state accumulating the signatures. That's going to help me to get on the ballot. It's also going to help me quite a bit in the primary, because I've got a field organization built out there. I've got 13,000 names going into a primary that may only require 20,000 votes to win. It's been a big advantage for my campaign now.
You haven't exactly made friends with the party. Why go this route?
I've been an outsider from the start, and I respect the process. I've been to a bunch of RTCs. The delegates are great people. But I would much rather have 12 to 13,000 signatures from registered Republicans than 200 delegates from the Foxwood Casino. It gives me a big heads up. It gives me broader support. It shows me as an outsider, which is exactly what I am, and it helps me move forward out to the real people and think about the primary and the general election.
You set up this hospitality suite right near the convention floor. And was that to tweak the nose of somebody in particular, or just the party regulars?
Not really. I also got 500 signatures that night from people that came by my suite, and the feedback I got out was, you're doing a good thing, we respect it, you're going directly to the people, you didn't go through the normal process. When's the last time that convention process put somebody out that actually won the election? It's been a while.
Well, you know, you on this program, last time you were on was back in April. You said somebody needs somebody from the, Connecticut needs somebody from the outside world, the outside sector, to come in to be able to turn things around. Now, it sounds good, but let me do a twist on the lottery slogan. You can't play if you don't win. I mean, we had Malloy, we had Linda McMahon. They both lost twice in their respective runs for governor and senator. So, you know, you're an outsider, so that's good, but is it really good?
A few differences, Al. We did a poll before I even jumped into the race. 90% of the people do not want a politician as our next governor. They want an outsider. I'm not a Fairfield County guy like Foley was. I grew up in New Haven. I'm a business guy. My dad ran the scoreboard at the Yale Bowl for 30 years. I'm a blue-collar, New Haven guy who knows how to run businesses, knows how to turn them around. That's a nice demographic to be running for mayor, particularly against Ned Lamont, who is a silver spoon guy out of Greenwich. I can draw a nice contrast to that, both in the primary and the general.
How many bathrooms do you have?
I tell people, I was growing up in New Haven. I had 3 older sisters, and me. We had 1 bathroom. Now I've graduated to 3.5 bathrooms. So I guess that's a good definition of success.
Ned has 8 bathrooms.
Is it 6?
You know,
8?
okay.
There are a lot of bathrooms, is basically what Ned Lamont has. Okay, so tell us, if you do go to Hartford, what can people expect out of you? I know we talked about this before, but as you kind of craft your message here, what's the first thing that you're going to do?
We've got to grow this economy. We have to reform our tax policy. We have to reform our regulation. Our taxes are driving people out of this state and business out of this state. We need to create an environment where Connecticut is more competitive, more attractive for business to be here, which will create jobs. It'll create more disposable income for people. That'll funnel through the economy and drive more growth and more tax revenues. We need to do the exact opposite of what Dan Malloy has been doing for the last 8 years.
But how do you make up for that, right? So if you're not going to raise taxes, we still have all of this tax burden on us. Not to mention the new Trump tax plan could put an issue for, especially for Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, on the property tax issue, which is huge. What do we do?
I mean, Trump's plan is a great example of what a little leadership and a little negotiating at a level can turn an economy very quickly. We need some of that in Connecticut. We need somebody who knows how to negotiate. We need somebody who knows how to make tough decisions. We need leadership. That's why I did at GE for 30 years, and I did it as chief financial officer at UBS Investment Bank. I had a $500 billion balance sheet across 35 countries. The state of Connecticut is a big organization. It's too important an election to put somebody in that governor's role who has not run a big organization.
Are you a Trump guy?
I like his economic policy. I like what he's done for this economy. We could use some of that in Connecticut.
You've said you want to phase out the income tax.
Yes.
You're not the only one in the campaign,
Yes.
Democrat and
Mark
Republican, who
Yeah.
said that,
Yeah.
but including Mark Boughton.
Yeah.
You know, people just say, that's incredulous. I mean, how can you get rid of such a big nut of money that we need, and what are you going to replace it with? Where are you going to make these tremendous cuts to make up for that lost revenue?
Well, first of all, I've got an economic plan on bobforgovernor.com. I'll give that plug, but it's endorsed by Art Laffer. Art Laffer was Ronald Reagan's chief economist, and he turned the national economy around. You look at before 1991, Connecticut, the 15 years before that tax was put in by Lowell Weicker, which was supposed to be a temporary tax, Connecticut was growing. Connecticut was growing faster than any other state in the nation, and we didn't have an income tax. Florida doesn't have an income tax. Tennessee doesn't have an income tax. Texas doesn't have an income tax.
I was just in Tennessee. You know what their sales tax is?
It's higher.
9% something.
I'll grant you that, and
Yeah.
they're getting revenues from that.
So should the sales tax be higher?
No, we need to cut spending, and we need to stimulate the economy by lowering taxes, and in the long run, it's been proven time after time that'll generate more tax revenues, not less. Look at what's happened in Connecticut. We've raised taxes continuously, and the gross tax revenues are down. To me, it's common sense that we need to do the reverse of that.
I want to ask you about the independent candidate, Oz Griebel.
Yeah.
He's talking about creating 200,000 net new jobs over the next 10 years. And he said to reach that, he's calling for reestablishing this Transportation Strategy Board. The idea being that if we get that board going and implement some of the recommendations, we're going to be in better shape transportation-wise, and that's going to help the job growth.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
I'm not big on boards, Al. I think we set up too many commissions, too many boards. That's part of the problem.
But do you agree the transportation,
I agree
fixing that is important?
I agree.
And how would you pay for that?
I think we need to bring the private sector in. Other states have done it. There is a ton of capital out there. I've been negotiating with private equity and third-party money for 30 years. We could redo Bradley Airport. We can have some private capital come in, invest, cut a fair deal for the taxpayers of Connecticut, and also allow some investment, because the fundamental problem is we don't have the money in the state budget to fix it. We have to find it. The private sector is ready to do it. But you need a business person who knows how to negotiate and structure these things.
What about roads and bridges? Is that something you'd look at private ownership over at some point?
You could, and they've done it in other places, and it's just about finding the resources to do it, Jen. We just don't have it right now.
What about the issue of keeping the businesses we have from moving out? Obviously, some of your changes would make that happen as you lay them out.
Yeah.
But what do you do about the? Do you believe there's any value in these programs that offer loans and grants and incentives to come in for new companies to come in and to keep existing companies here?
I think the problem with Dan Malloy is he waited till companies decided to leave, and then he tried to convince them to stay. What you need to do is you need to go on offense, not defense, and you need to create a regulatory environment, a tax environment that makes companies want to be here. By the time they've decided to leave, it's too late. And throwing a bunch of money at them to try to convince them to stay at that point, it gets back to basic, fundamental, sound economic policy, lower taxes, skilled workforce, less regulation, and that's going to drive companies into this state, and that's going to create jobs. And that's the way to get out of the problem that we're in right now.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob Stefanowski, for coming on that program.
Thank you for having
once
me
again.
on. I really appreciate it.
Keep us updated.
Good luck.
I will.